All right. I believe this means we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tech fans of all shapes and shapes and sizes and sorts and everything. I've completely forgotten my patter for how I start my own show. Hey, everybody, welcome to a tech podcast. Welcome to the SGGQA podcast, where I am Juan Carlos Bagnell, aka Some Gadget Guy, the SGG of this terribly named podcast series. And the QA is the important part because that obviously stands for question and answer, as I'm real good. As I'm real good at hosting a tech conversation. But no, I'm already seeing an incredible list of names in the chat, as I'm sure they're going to help me through muscling through this is kind of an interesting newsy gadgety block. A little less on the announcements and these products have actually hit. This is a little bit of a summer doldrums before we kind of kick up into a whole new round of gadget releases and product reviews and stuff like that. So it's kind of an interesting time to be looking at some of the tech news stories, but this is a lot of gadgety news. So I think we've got some really fun stuff to talk about this week. Uh, First of all, I hope everybody had a lovely weekend. If you were in the United States, it was Father's Day weekend. I had a lovely Father's Day. Lex and Marie both wrote me cards that were really sweet. I was surprised with waffles and bacon for breakfast, and then we had dinner with some friends last night. It was just a really sweet, all around, just a really nice day where maybe I spent a good chunk of the middle of the day napping through parts of the World Cup that were very exciting. So some really interesting World Cup play. Also, seeing the so who did I watch? Man, my brain is Swiss cheese right now. That's going to be funky. We're going to have a funky show. I'm feeling it. This is going to be really funky. So, already seeing a great list of folks here. We got Jimmy Fire Dragon chatting with folks in the chat. We got JGJ. Many other countries are starting to celebrate Father's Day, which is kind of nice. I do like the joke, though, that Father's Day should be 9 months before Mother's Day. I just thought that was kind of cute when I saw it on Reddit. John Gauss wishing everybody happy Monday. JGJ saying the mix is plenty the mic is plenty loud. Do I need to turn it down, folks? Let me know if I'm clipping, because it looks, again, I turned it down from last week, and I'm seeing levels that look totally appropriate. Ron GKB saying hi to everyone. Simon says no, had a great weekend. Thanks. Fat Produce, Andrew's in the chat. I took today off, so I am here. I'm glad that you decided to drop by and spend some time with us. We got Solodo Tex. We got Ted saying good morning, good gadget geeks. And Ted's been sharing some really great footage from that Insta360 Luna, that little gimbal camera that we were chatting up. I still don't think I'm the right guy for a bunch of gimbal cameras and stuff, but I at least have appreciated folks contributing and sharing when they are using stuff like that. So let me get this out of the way. Oh, Fat Produce is saying I sound great. Okay. So I'll go with Andrew then. Sorry if the mix is coming in loud on whatever streaming service you might be catching this on. I seem to have almost no control over what's going on. So why don't we jump into some housekeeping? And then, like I said, we've got some news and then some gadgety news. And then if we can spare a little time at the end, if there are other things that we want to do with this Q&A, we can let the conversation kind of ramble on from there too. I realized, like, was it 2 weeks ago or was it last week? I made this plug and we're like, oh yeah, and we can maybe talk about some movies and stuff. And I was like, oh, I really want to talk about Disclosure Day. And then realized we just blew all the way through it. We were done. So yeah, it's all good. So let me get this set here. Last week was surprisingly busy, but was a little varied in how I put stuff out. So I'm going to screen share this here. On the public channel, we did publish the NPU video. Does this laptop really have more brains? Let's test this new Snapdragon laptop chip. And the thumbnail says, what can we do with this laptop's NPU? And I'm having a hard time because I feel like so many tech videos are this very surface, I'm just going to throw specs and bar graphs at you, and then you will know that this thing is better than this thing or this thing is worse than that thing. And a lot of the comments that I'm getting on this stuff really seem to kind of just take that in stride. I do a test in this video comparing the language model performance, the LLM, or I guess small language or medium language model, MLM, because it's kind of a scam. Um, and so I'm trying to show this is what it looks like when I really try to test and compare in a narrow focus, but with something that people can really use. A little chatbot in anything LLM, and these are the results. And look at how complicated it is for me to describe the process, the testing, the results. And at the end of all of this, does that actually help anyone make a purchasing decision? I could just run like Geekbench AI and give you a really big number off of this NPU. And then people would go, oh, yeah, but I mean, it's got the bigger Geekbench number. Does it have an Antutu NPU score? But what I'm trying to find are any other real world applications that this coprocessor might help. So we've got these things in our computers. Like if I hold up this phone, it's got an NPU, a little neural processing unit, a little machine learning coprocessor. It's pretty good at chewing up little bits of information in these really fun and creative ways for machine learning applications. One would be something like subject identification in your camera app. So now when you hold up the camera, not only can it like track your subject and track your face, it can like zero in on your eyeball and you didn't have to tap the screen or prime it or do anything. That's an example of a machine learning application. You don't want to dedicate the GPU and the CPU to track a subject. That would be way too much power draw for a longer camera interaction. So that's one example. One of the only things I can point to is this NPU is really good at doing things like scraping text off of screenshots. Well, why is that a big deal for Windows laptops? It's because Microsoft really wanted to push recall, that thing where it just kept screenshotting your screen like every 5 seconds and came up and it like tracks everything you do on the computer, and you can search through everything you do on the computer. You don't want the CPU and GPU constantly in activity. So here's this little coprocessor that can spy on you with less power draw, a lot more storage being used on your computer. So if it's good at doing stuff like that, there have to be other applications that could be kind of interesting for it to use. So this video that I've put out, I do describe what it's like to try and use and test something that anyone can go out there and try. You can download anything LLM, run your own little local chatbot. It takes a lot of the mystique out of doing AI stuff through cloud services. You can see it working right there in front of you. It's actually kind of cool. I think it's an excellent educational opportunity. I don't know that this is going to help anyone in any way make a purchasing decision, but if I could find plugins in photo editing or video editing programs, or a consistent application in document work where I can say, I'm going to open the spreadsheet, I'm going to give it this command, it's going to tabulate this kind of information, and it's going to use the MPU. Maybe that would be something that could motivate a future purchasing decision. But it's just kind of funny to me. Like I post this video and I wasn't surprised by this, and I'm not even that critical of it, but like most of the responses I've got are like, who even wants, I'm like, NPUs are so underpowered. Why don't I just do everything on the GPU? How come you didn't test the GPU? Because I'm testing a laptop. And ostensibly, one of the things about a laptop would be how it performs for battery life. And maybe someone is okay with a slightly slower token per second generating text language model if it's using like a tenth the power of ramping the GPU up to full speed. So again, I feel like there's a certain flavor of techie who has had all of these results and all of these testing and benchmarks and everything spoon fed to them, and they don't seem capable of contributing much to the conversation. They're there because you did all the work, and they're gonna grace you with a part of a view and an angry comment about how you're a shill and this video was bought and paid for by a manufacturer and you're a terrible person. But all they live for is to exist, to be spoon-fed, airplane in the hangar. This is what you should think about a new processor. And then to complain about how, like, oh, I saw Windows on ARM computer and it couldn't do anything. You're like, okay, all right, that's great. Oh, Doulos the Prophet is watching on Twitch today. What's up, Brian? Good to see you on the Twitch. I appreciate you dropping by. We still have more housekeeping. What am I doing? I took a drink of coffee like I was all done. Here, let me just kind of get through the rest of this here. So the MPU video, I was really happy with how it came out, but it does seem to be a little obtuse for just general CPU tech nerds on YouTube. Then we finally published the Toughbook 56. I loves me a good rugged gadget. I just did a review on that new tank phone. This is the newest Panasonic Toughbook laptop. It is an absolute monster of a system, and I just adore the consideration for like repair, modular design, how easy it is to like swap parts and pieces. Like, we used to have a lot of these ideas in business grade laptops. You remember those cards that you could put into laptops, PCMCIA? Was that what that's what they were called? And you could like add functionality to your laptop, and it was an agreed upon standard, and you just slot this thing in. We even had those for iPac PDAs. You get it like a little sleeve, and then you could put in a laptop card, and your handheld pocket computer thing could just get all kinds of new hardware and capabilities. And then we threw that all away because people said you needed skinny. And skinny is never a feature, it is only a lack of other features. So I'm always excited to see other laptop manufacturers start touting repairability, modular designs. The new Lenovo's getting very good scores for that. Framework, really, that enthusiast kind of conversation is really exciting to see too. So one of the companies that, like, just by nature of design, a rugged military grade, law enforcement, first responder grade laptop just can't be a MacBook Air. So what else can you do with the extra space when you need the frame to protect all the computer bits? And I've always loved what Panasonic comes up with for that. So full breakdown, just new features. It looks very similar to previous Toughbooks, but this was also an interesting year to see them evolve some of their accessories and components and repairability. Even their new battery system is pretty sweet. Moving on to the Patreon. So this is something I don't know. I'm genuinely torn on whether or not I should start making more of these like written pieces and editorials public, because they don't tend to get a lot of traffic, even when I promote them and I really talk about them. But I like kind of starting off a conversation and kind of showing people like, this is the stuff that I'm working on before you get to see a finished video along the way. Sounds like $1,000,000, but it only costs $1,700. The Odyssey MM520 professional monitor headphones, the first listen. And I really like these headphones, and they're really pricey. So when you think like people sort of quibbling over, well, should you get Sony XM6 or Apple AirPod Max Pro Ultras? Oh, these are like $500 headphones, and oh, these are like $400 headphones. And I still don't think people fully appreciate just how glorious the mid-range to premium market is right now. We're going through something of a headphone and in-ear monitor renaissance. So IEMs have never been more accessible. You can get these incredible multi-driver tunable different ear casings, different ear tips, different cables. It's so easy to drive. I always have one on my desk, and now I don't know. Oh, yeah, it's right here. You can get exceedingly inexpensive little USB DACs. Like, this is my little Shanling. I'm doing a lot of my audio testing now. This is like $100 DAC. $100 is a lot of money. This replaces what used to be like a massive sound card. And it's like you can power incredible headphones off of the USB port in your phone. But once we start traveling above, sorry, the reason why I brought up all the other headphones in the Renaissance and stuff is like for big over ear cans, there's something awesome happening in the $300 to $500 space, where Sennheiser is putting out some amazing gear. Odyssey, the MM100s are an incredible option. There are these planar magnetics, dynamic drivers, multi driver earbuds. There are some incredible options that I genuinely think could be someone's end game, like the headphone that they listen to for the rest of their lives. The audiophile quality of a headphone at $400 today is just remarkable. I think it's really exciting to be able to show that, to be able to talk about that. But then you put something like this on your ears, and the experience is definitely different. And I'm listening to stuff, and I'm having emotional reactions to my music, and I'm getting goosebumps on some tracks, and then I'm trying to balance that out against a price tag that is north of $1,500. And we're not talking Bluetooth, we're not talking wireless, we're not talking noise canceling. This is just a big, huge headphone driver in an open ear case designed for professional applications, but also being sold to people as a way to listen to their music and consume content, in an audiophile kind of way. And it definitely changes up the nature of that conversation. Like, I I'm reaching deep into my bag of tricks to talk about products, and then to try and, how do I grade this experience when it's 3 times more expensive than the Odyssey MM100s that I really, really like? So, if you want the beginnings of that conversation over on patreon.com/somegadgetguy, you can see some of the early photos and literally the notes that I took during my first listening through my playlist. I have a partner playlist over on Qobuz, where I've got a selection of tracks that I like to cover first. Like, I know what I'm listening for, I know what they should sound like, and I like hearing how different headphones approach some of these other tracks. Then another biggie, and it should be out either middle of this week public, or I might use it next week for our pajama podcast. I sat down with an attorney. Her name is Whitney Ray DeBona. She works for a law firm, and the law firm has a program called Drug Watch. And Drug Watch typically goes after negligence and harm and fraud cases in the consumer space, but they've been more focused on consumer drugs, medicines, and cosmetics. This law firm has started working with all of the states and all of the individuals who are individually suing Roblox for unsafe business practices, negligence, not protecting kids, having a game that's rated T for teen, but with mechanics built in specifically to target like 5-year-olds. And all of the disclosures from the company just make this look grimier and grimier and grimier. So she was kind enough to spend, I mean, we talked for about an hour. I cut down the video to about 40 minutes just to kind of describe what that looks like. Because even here on this podcast, I can bring up like a headline. Oh, Roblox is being sued. And I don't think the full scope of that we really get an appreciation for, because I'm sure everyone in this chat has seen headlines about Roblox getting sued, right? Do you know how many active cases there are? Because you're not seeing multiple headlines about the same case. You're seeing a lot of headlines because there are a lot of lawsuits that are going up. So this was, again, I'm trying to bridge more of these situations where we can talk about sort of the consumer impact, maybe be a little bit more of an advocate for policy, and I think she's going to say some things that are going to ruffle feathers with tech fans. Anytime we've got a situation where the focus of law enforcement, the focus of the judicial system is protecting children, I think a lot of people in this chat would also rightfully be a bit concerned about where that policy might go, because we've definitely heard that rhetoric being used on policy that we might not agree with. But I think she also brings up some good points, because sometimes, won't someone please think of the children? Yeah, we actually do need someone to come out and say, well, actually, yeah, we need someone to please think of the children, because parents are not being equipped to get that job done right now. So you can catch that conversation on the Patreon, should be going live soon. And I had one other thing. Oh, no. So the other thing was I had a preview version of the Tough Book 56 video. Let's go ahead and shift gears and start digging through some of this news, because we have a lot of stuff to jump into. And I got to take a quick pause, because one Mr. Jonathan Gao has subscribed on Prime, subscribed for 24 months. This is our 2-year anniversary, John. I don't even know what the anniversary gifts are. I haven't made this joke in a really long time. And this is one of the few times in recent streams where my Twitch chat and my YouTube chat have both been functional at the same time for me to even get these notices. Let me tell you, running a podcast has been massively shaky lately. I've been trying to keep all these balls in the air and still talk to the camera while I'm actively running all this stuff. So I haven't done one of these in a really long time. But John, you get the horrifically bad acapella fanfare of glory. And of course, not joking, I really appreciate everybody who supports the channel, drops by, shares content. If you're sharing these links, it makes a big difference. When we see that kind of action, it helps make this stuff a little more algorithmically popular. You see, every part of your feed is dominated by negativity on sites like Threads, especially, dumpster fires like Twitter. And they exist to promote terrible content. And then people say, like, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to call out that content. And then they end up just sharing and promoting terrible content. So the only way we can fight that, if we don't want all of this to just be hot garbage, is to share what we like. So my call to action every week, as always, is to try and reach out, find those creators. Maybe you're not getting notifications. Maybe you smashed a bell icon on Hugh Jeffries and you really like well put together repair conversations and really calming project videos, and you like that style, and you subscribed and hit the bell icon, and then he put out 4 videos and you didn't get to watch any of them because YouTube is trying to keep you on the angrier side of all of your subscriptions. Share, maybe this week, everybody should share a Hugh Jeffries video on social media. I think that's a fun challenge. I think that's someone who is deserving of more sharing and more attention than a YouTuber with 10 million subscribers who's just going to tell you how the iPhone wins every comparison because ecosystem. You know, we can keep getting upset at the big YouTuber with 10 million subscribers, or instead of promoting that YouTuber's video, we could look at a Hugh Jeffries or an iFixit. Or maybe you want to get really political and go with like a Louis Rossman, and you could share a video a day on Threads and Twitter and Mastodon and Blue Sky. And don't you think that would be way more appreciated? Maybe if you don't like my sardonic, newsy 2.5-hour podcast every week, maybe instead go share the Friday checkout from Tech Altar. I want to see something in the chat. I would like to see someone in the chat commit to, I will share good videos from people I like on social media this week, and tell me what creators you're going to share. And throughout the podcast, I will call out people that are talking about sharing good content. There's a TK Bay out there who you might not have checked in with for a while. There's a Hugh Jeffries. There's an iFixit. Why don't we be the change we want to see in the world? See, this is what makes me super, super happy. So Doulos the Prophet over on Twitch. This is a very important conversation talking about Roblox. Based on a quick search, there are 162 active lawsuits filed against Roblox. So, spoilers, guess what law firm is helping to coordinate the individual and state actions against Roblox right now? And guess who I got to talk to? Doulos the Prophet definitely beat me to the punch there. I'll put out the video sometime this week. I think it's a good conversation. But again, it's going to be one of those things that absolutely gets crushed by the YouTube algorithm because there's just no good monetization hook. Like, here's a video about how Roblox is hurting your kids. Also, get 10 free tokens in this gotcha game on Google Play. I can't sponsor that. It's okay. I just have to produce that conversation in that interview, and subsidize it with other videos and Patreon stuff. It's great. From John Gow, thanks for the shout out, Juan. I'm trying to keep up on the Twitch sub lately. I missed a lot of them. Hey man, I really appreciate any people making efforts, and it goes a long way towards helping me keep producing from week to week. Let me get this out of the way there. Okay. So, from Ted. Again, Ted. So Ted drops this delightful little, I'm looking at the man in the mirror. So I love it. I love that you've put those song lyrics in my chat. Ted, what channel are you going to share on social media today that is going to make that channel creator wickedly happy? Are there 0 content creators that any of you want to support? Maybe it's a gadget goddess. Maybe it's LaShawn. Maybe it's a tech preacher. Maybe it's Barry and an engineer reacts. Maybe we can convince some of these lapsed YouTube content creators that we loved the content that they produced but stopped making it. Maybe we can convince some of them to just pop back in and visit from time to time. You know, this list has gotten a lot shorter, where I used to just ramble off a list of like 20 content creators. A lot of them aren't making stuff anymore. So who are you going to share this week? I've already told you my favorites. I would love to hear who else is so like here, AI makes your brain shrink. Is this Share Continuum Gaming. He does weekly Sailfish OS content with 7 viewers. Hold on, I'm gonna pull this up. Continuum Gaming. Is this on YouTube? Gaming. See Continuum. Ale Episoden. It sounds like someone who was making Sailfish stuff. I don't know that this is Microsoft Continuum. Oh no, this is Microsoft Continuum Gaming. I don't think that's the hook. I'll have to look them up, but I'll see who's going on. So we've got Simon Says Hypno says through Jermaine's lens. Jermaine's a really good guy. Don't you think Jermaine deserves an extra 0 at the end of his subscriber count with the consistency and the approach and the thoughtfulness that he puts into his content? I think that's a worthy individual. No way. Jimmy Fire Dragon saying Vipe was live on Friday. Viper was another one. Early on when Viper started live streaming, I really felt the YouTube algorithm did him dirty. Like, he would find these weird things happening to his channel where, like, it seemed his like subtitles and his localization, like he'd get these weird translations. Like, you'd click on the closed captioning for his videos and it would be in these crazy foreign languages, and YouTube never knew what to do with his channel, and unfortunately just kind of shoved him to the side. And I think we unfortunately lost someone who was aggressive, funny and aggressive, but also really cared about trying to build good community interactions. Spending so much time on those audio streaming platforms where you could have like kind of town hall discussions. He was a really good moderator for those kinds of longer form conversations, and couldn't really build a consistent YouTube approach to that same content because the YouTube algorithm is hot garbage, predatory, and hurts people. Solo from Ted. I have no socials, so you all will be seeing more Mobile Geezer videos in the Discord. Mobile Geezer's a good dude. I love his videos. Simon says Hypno. Also, Shane Craig. Excellent. AI makes your brain shrink. So yes, he's German. I'm gonna look him up because I think what I found is maybe it's this channel. There are like 3 different channels that are like Continuum Gaming. But I don't see videos on one of them. The other one is like Microsoft Continuum, which I don't think is the right fit. So I'll dig it up, but I'll find a good one for that. Tech tablets. I've always liked Tech tablets content. Jimmy Fire Dragon is definitely going to be supporting Tech Preacher. Simon says Hypno with Jay Williams. Georgie, Jermaine's Lens, and Travis MCP. Oh, cool. Jimmy Fire Dragon saying Latrell Jennings was live last night as he hit 50K. Isn't that a fun moment to catch when someone hits like a milestone like that? Barry, gotta share Barry stuff when he's putting stuff out there. LFA reviews, I love it. Tech Edit, Ryan Thomas, Tech Alter. Simon says Hypno. There we go. Nomad Tech Project. It's good times. JGJ, this is an interesting one. KTZ Systems currently doing a media server series, more on the self-hosting bandwagon, former contributor to Jupiter Broadcasting. And so I think that's a great place to start. So now I know all y'all, for folks who have social media, if you have anything in the socials, share it and then let me know. And you know what I can do is on a platform like Blue Sky or Mastodon, where I've got a couple thousand followers, I'll repost. We could help. We could signal boost. I tried to do this on actually I tried to do it on Mastodon, and then I tried to work it on Threads. But like someone with 10 million subscribers has a built-in audience of people who will rush to Reddit and rush to Twitter and signal boost like crazy. So if you want to support someone and you let me know that you've shared a video from any one of these creators, you know what I can do is I can also help signal boost. I don't know. It makes you more valuable on social media. It improves the visibility of the content creator that you're trying to promote. And I think everyone would appreciate the effort. I tried to work those kinds of like, we can help each other out. And a lot of tech creators would be like, no, it's just so hard trying to like figure out Blue Sky. It's exactly like Twitter, but I just can't figure it out. And then trying to like, hey, if you add this hashtag, I'll repost everything that you share with this hashtag, because I can find the hashtag and then we can all be buddies and partners. And I trust that you're sharing good stuff, so I'll help you signal boost good stuff. And then tech content creators will be like, oh, but then if I have to share things, it's hard. So okay, I guess everything sucks. All right, so we got some good lists now. It took a little bit. I was worried, like, hey man, no one cares about good tech videos. That makes me sad. But no, we got some good stuff there. Everything that we're going to be talking about, all of the show notes, all of my housekeeping links, all of the news articles that we're going to be talking about this week, everything can be found on this week's blog post on somegadgetguy.com. Of course, there's going to be the Patreon version of the audio replay, which is a little more cleaned up. And there's also the public version too. You can find it across all of your favorite podcasting apps and services. And again, it's one of those things, sharing, leaving a review on a podcasting app or service. I've tried to be a bit more mindful of the comments that we get on Spotify. I don't get many, so I don't check in there very often. But every little bit helps. So I appreciate those folks who are out there spreading the word and helping the algorithms of what shouldn't be an algorithmically based content distribution service. So let me get this set up here. We're going to kick off with just I actually let a lot of stuff go. I was thinking about trying to talk about what's going on in global politics and the current on again, off again relationship between our current presidential administration and Iran. Um, I think I'm going to let that slide for a bit because it just seems to really be chaos. It occupies every single news cycle with no practical substance as our current political leaders here in the United States completely poop the bed on every opportunity to make things better. So I just summed up weeks of political machinations with that last description. And I'm sure weeks further of political machinations in the future. So instead, I'm going to share something a little on the political side that I think is a net benefit for the people it's going to affect. And this is coming by way of. Oops, I tried to switch my screen and I turned off my mic. Coming by way of Reuters. Norway imposes near ban on AI in elementary school. From the article, Norway is imposing a near ban on the use of generative AI tools by elementary school pupils while also restricting their use in the education of older children to prevent a negative impact on learning, the country's prime minister said on Friday. Facing a broad decline in education test scores, the government in 2024 banned smartphones from schools and has given teachers back more power to enforce discipline in the classroom. Yet more evidence that there is very little individual, community, corporate, or government benefit to relying heavily on AI services. AI makes search worse. AI makes content worse. AI makes critical thinking worse. And we get to pay lots of money, and all of our computers get more expensive. Our electricity gets more expensive. Water rights become really hostile, and it damages the environment, and bringing new data centers online requires additional power generation, which unfortunately right now means more fossil fuels. I don't know if any of you are adjacent to or know someone or currently live in the UK, but I hear around Europe right now, it's going to be a really scary summer. I live in the Southwest in the United States, and it's going to be a really scary summer. We've already had one massive string of wildfires. We got an evacuation warning that we could be possibly evacuated already this summer. And yesterday, we were dealing with the smoke from a structure fire in Los Angeles. And I live out in the suburbs, that you would go outside and immediately your throat would close because the smoke was so toxic and acrid. And thankfully, over the course of the day, it did clear up a little, but boy, howdy, is that scary stuff. So obviously, what we need to do is build more data centers so kids can have more AI and not be able to read as they get to college. That was another story we didn't talk about. I like major headlines over the last 2 weeks, like college students are arriving and they're unable to read books. And you're like, cool. I'm so glad that this is the net effect of all of the technology that my entire life I've been building to this current moment, because I have adored mobile technology since I was a little kid. I've dreamt of Star Trek futures with smarter computer systems and more, interesting methods of interacting with systems. And now I've got a bunch of billionaires standing on our collective necks saying, nope, we need all the RAM. So here we are. Hooray. Oh, and also ER 1980. Also, our prime minister quit today. So not only do you have a heat wave, you have no current leadership. That's awesome. Oh, so this is really what's scary. It's going to hit 40 degrees Celsius in the Midlands on Thursday. Never seen this in my 45 years of living in the Midlands, England, in the UK. So freaking concerning. And because of how weather works, everything we're doing today is going to compound and make this stuff worse tomorrow. If we were to just stop today, it would take a really long time to undo the effects of what we've done up to this point. And our current leadership is still like, but I think it's really neat that billionaires and the world's first trillionaire can put millions of people out of work and wreck their financial outcomes at a time when housing and food prices are ridiculously expensive and make everything more expensive, and then no one will have any money. Isn't that so nifty? I just like putting prompts into my computer on the web. Good job. From JGJ, why not build local LLM edge computing? Well, JGJ, that is a very good point. I have been trying to broach those topics in my videos. Like, I have this recent video out talking about the new Qualcomm Snapdragon chip and what can we do to improve the education for consumers to use more local AI processing. So it would be handy if I got some good substantive comments on that, because right now it's, oh, MPUs are useless, or Snapdragon chips can't do nothing. And, you know, I think you bring up a good point. Maybe we should offload our cloud AI services to more local compute. What would that look like? I'm trying to talk about that. The end of that video is another extended rant of mine, talking about how this should be the future of this kind of chatbot. Is the chatbot lives on a local system, and I'm not doing chatbot in the cloud. I'm doing chatbot on a little low power coprocessor. So I don't know. It'd be nice to have some backup on that video, because right now it's mostly people just calling me an idiot. A lot of those comments have been moderated. It's awesome. Let me tell you the psychological abuse that you have to handle day to day if you just want to talk about something like a Snapdragon chip. It's great. Moving right along. And this is another kind of fun one. This is digitalmusicnews.com, written up by Ashley King. Meta must face the music infringement litigation. A $109 million lawsuit from Eminem's publisher shall proceed, federal judge rules. After Meta filed to dismiss Eminem publisher 8 Mile Styles' direct copyright infringement claim, a federal judge has denied the motion, allowing the case to head into discovery. 8 Mile Style is seeking maximum statutory damages totaling $109.4 million, alleging that Meta stored 243 of its copyrighted compositions across the music libraries of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp without permission. The publisher sued the Facebook parent last year, alleging that its catalog was featured across the music libraries of its platforms without a valid license. Meta lawyers called the damages request eye-popping, and the lawsuit itself fanciful, arguing that the allegations were far too broad to survive past an initial motion to dismiss. And then the judge said, nah, brah, this is going to trial. So I viciously disagree with all of the platforms that are stealing content. Remember, Meta was also the company that downloaded terabytes of books, of ebooks, and didn't pay for any of them, and took all of the collected works of human knowledge and dumped them into their AI wood chipper and trained their models on an incredible amount of stolen content. Now, you remember back, if you're someone my age, you can go back to like the Napster days, and the music labels were trying to sue consumers that were using Napster. And actually, it didn't go that well for them. They would get these like headlines, oh, court case, and someone's going to have to pay thousands of dollars for all the music that they stole on Napster and promise never to use the internet, never again. Well, the problem was scale. You know, if I had stolen terabytes of books, apparently that's okay. Like, Meta is able to operate in a fashion where they're claiming that it's in some way fair use or commentary and critique to steal the book, not even pay for the book. then take all the information in the book and then put all that information into a word guessing machine that just spits out information from the book. What's going to be funny here, I actually don't think our legal system is primed for a challenge like this to arrive at the other end and assess damages that someone is saying, "Oh, we stole Eminem's music and he wants $100 million as eye-popping." Well, no, it's one of the most successful rap artists of all time, and there's a value associated with his work, and there was a licensing and a value that was associated with his work, and actually $100 million doesn't sound like enough. But what is going to be worth $100 million is further disclosure of Meta's business practices. This is why you fight the lawsuit so hard and you try not to like settle or anything like that. This is why they're wanting to shut it down, is because disclosures. Now we're going to get discovery. Now we're going to see what their internal communications were like, what other artists are being taken advantage of, and the systematic abuse from a company like Meta, a company like Facebook, a company that will just put in code on your super awesome smart glasses with cameras that at some point they could turn on and it would just do automatic face scanning of everyone around you. And then we wonder why, we don't want smart glasses on everybody's faces, because it's just scanning everyone's faces all the time without disclosure or without any kind of conveyance or notification that that thing is happening. So Meta is proper evil in that regard, and they absolutely don't want these continued court challenges where they have to share their internal communications, what their business practices and strategies really look like. And that's what's going to be interesting about this court case. So I'll definitely be trying to dig up some sort of follow-up when we start hearing arguments and when we start seeing information come out of this court case, because yet again, there's no way AI should be labeled anything other than theft unless the company went out of their way. So for example, Google AI having a comprehensive knowledge of conversations on Reddit is not theft, because Google paid Reddit a paltry sum of money. It was like $50 million to scrub Reddit and acquire all of that information and all of that human data and all of that, all of those forums and conversations, subreddits, etc. They licensed your activity on Reddit. Meta just takes things and puts them into their AI products. If Meta had licensed terabytes worth of books, I don't think we'd have as serious a conversation legally. But our legal system still can't quite figure out this dividing line where a non-human entity is remixing information from music and books. A non-human entity does not have rights in our contract and dispute laws. That's not a thing. So a company needs to be held liable for their product, a non-human product. You don't get to claim commentary and critique. I believe remix, commentary, critique, transformative media, fair use can only be applied to something with a human organic brain. Unless we eventually magically come up with the positronic brain from like the Bicentennial Man. I will extend to, I can't remember the name of the robot from the Bicentennial Man. Oh, that's really going to bum me out. But to that robot, I will extend personhood. Anyone else does not get the same considerations of personhood and should never be allowed to make fair use arguments on behalf of automated systems that just stole information from all the humans out there. It's pretty rough. From Ron GKP. Who needs money when we'll all be under 4 feet of seawater? I mean, I hope that the billionaires and the trillionaires are looking at how they build their bunkers, because they're definitely going to have to keep in mind, like, What's the flooding of this underground facility that I'm going to be safe from all the poor people? From WX Romer, YouTube embedded ads on this and other streams is making it almost unwatchable. I wish I could control that better. There are ways to watch this on, I don't even know what Twitch's current ad policy look like. I don't know if they're serving ads like every 10 minutes or not, but I know YouTube got way more aggressive on pushing ads. I try to tell people not to use YouTube for everything. I brought my podcast back to YouTube because people would only watch on YouTube. And I wish it were different, but here, that's where we're at. I need some place to broadcast this podcast. And unfortunately, Twitch got really stupid about their archive. So it like, you get so many hours of archive. And you're like, well, okay, well, then I can't use Twitch to back up old episodes of my podcast. So I guess LinkedIn. I don't even know if LinkedIn serves ads. I really hope they don't, because I don't get any money from LinkedIn. So we've come to the part of the show, and we're already 50 minutes into the broadcast. We need to talk a little bit about the roller coaster ride, which has been the SpaceX IPO. I was so sad in humanity that to the lead up of SpaceX, I can't say like the public perception of Elon Musk could be much more negative. I mean, no one likes this guy. No one who matters likes Elon Musk. And anyone with critical thinking skills, even low level critical thinking skills, at least appreciates how much of a putz he is. Whether or not you have like really well earnest researched reasons for disliking Musk, he's just an unlikable guy now. Could have been, with some better PR and some better management, could have been one of these like eccentric boy genius types who goes on to have this really popular, long-lived perception in the media, but like couldn't get invited to those kinds of parties that other billionaires were going to on crazy little islands, because nobody likes him, even other criminals. So we're leading up, and we shared this on numerous episodes of the podcast, that SpaceX is not a well-run company, and it serves a critical part of our space infrastructure, but does so as a private corporation, does so at an incredible loss, like losing $5 billion last year. And I think they were in the red $4 billion this last fiscal quarter. And they're acquiring more AI, and they're crafting these ridiculous deals with like Google. We're going to build and deploy more data center with tons of NVIDIA GPUs, and Google's going to pay us $900 million a month. And we promise to bring those systems online. They don't even have the systems, but they're crafting these kinds of deals with language like it's a done deal. And they don't have the capacity to really give Google, but you know, who cares? Because that's the state of investing in AI right now. Pure speculation. A Sam Altman or an Elon Musk can just go out and say, we're going to buy 50% of the RAM output for the next fiscal year. Do they really do it? Well, maybe. We're committing to buying up all the RAM. So you need to make data center RAM and stop making consumer RAM so that we can buy up all of this data center RAM. And then that causes stocks to skyrocket, and it allows NVIDIA, with the value of their company, to give other companies billions of dollars so that those other companies will just buy more NVIDIA hardware. We're treating this circular, this Ouroboros of companies eating their own tails, as if that's like a healthy situation for the market to be in. And all of these billionaires are acting like they can exist in a post-consumer landscape. It doesn't matter if the actual economy craters and nobody has work and nobody's making money and nobody's buying food because I can just take another $1 billion from Nvidia's well and give it to a new AI startup, and then that new AI startup is going to buy Nvidia GPUs, and then I can sell them data to synthetically train their AI, and we don't even need real world training systems anymore because you'll just use AI to train your AI with more AI. I wish I were making that up, but that was like their big pitch at CES back in January. Why even go and train your models when you can use our synthetic data to train your models? And then you can use synthetic data to train robots. Robots that couldn't navigate differences in carpet are going to take over all your factory jobs in the next year. Which is cool. It's real cool. It's real cool that that's where we're at. So, all of this information, and SpaceX has their IPO, and it pops. It is a massive surge. It is billions of dollars in the SpaceX coffers. It catapults Elon Musk to being the world's first trillionaire in worth. Like, he's worth $1 trillion, but he doesn't have $1 trillion. He's just worth that because of all the stock options and things that he's taken on. I'm not going to read through the whole article here on the podcast. I have had a love-hate relationship with Forbes as they celebrate, the youngest millionaires, and this is the top billionaires this year. And they love to try to celebritize people who do terrible things, but make lots of money. And then they have these sort of weak sauce reactionary articles. This one is SpaceX stock plunge wipes out $600 billion after the Cursor deal spooks investors. A sell-off in SpaceX shares extended on Thursday, erasing much of the rocket company's gains since its record-setting debut after its $60 billion all-stock deal for AI coding startup Cursor sparked concerns among analysts. So, we talked about this on the podcast. SpaceX wants to be an AI company now because AI is this is how ridiculous the Elon Musk business strategy is. He's late to the AI speculator stock boom, but he's trying to turn his space company into an AI meme stock. The company that actually does provide a very valuable service, but should not be a public company. It should be part of our government's program for space research, because our government shouldn't be run like a business. Government should not exist to make profits. They should spend money on services that better the lives of their citizens. Like fixing roads and bridges, offering up better healthcare, offering up better public schooling, and sending equipment into space should be things our tax dollars support. There should be oversight, and there should definitely be reform, but it apparently cannot exist as a private company and generate profits. Definitely not do that on time, and definitely not do it safely on time. So now investors, after the IPO, are concerned about this AI turn. They just spent $60 billion on a startup for AI. That's a huge chunk of the money that they generated publicly with their IPO. That is a really big chunk of money to dedicate to a coding startup at a time where companies are actually starting to reconcile their AI usage against how much it really costs to generate all those tokens and to use up all of that AI subscription. And now that we're going more, we're looking at companies like Anthropic, these conversations where we're going to start billing you on how much AI you use. And so what would have been hundreds of dollars a month in a subscription could now be thousands of dollars a month in AI credit use. You fired that mid-level engineer who was making $200,000 a year. All right, that sucks. Now, if you really max out what your Claude subscription can do, that could be $10,000, $15,000 a month. So, how you doing with that person that you laid off who could have been contributing code probably better than just putting out vibe code for all this junk? Sorry, there's a dog barking right outside my window. This dog is really upset about this AI usage right now. What investor was looking at SpaceX, looking at this IPO, and completely missed everything that Elon Musk has been doing to sort of manipulate the commentary and the value around his companies? He would use money from SpaceX to buy advertising on Twitter. He's several times tried to shift the focus of what Tesla is trying to deliver. It made sense when it was like, oh, we're going to build our own battery factories. Awesome. Now we're also going to develop solar systems. Okay, I kind of see that for electric vehicles. But then it just sort of kept morphing into these other things, and and Tesla couldn't quite become an AI brand. So when Twitter's AI got to be too expensive, it was sort of spun off. You had XAI, and then XAI was bought by SpaceX, and he's trying to make all these things one conglomerate blob of just terrible business. And he's a welfare queen. His businesses only succeed when he is connected directly to a pipe of taxpayer funds. He has no vision to improve the state of electric vehicles, to make our systems more efficient, or to make locomotion better and more profitable. But, if he can convince local municipalities and maybe even federal systems to buy more Tesla Cybertrucks, which he hasn't been able to do, that's how he makes money. Same thing, Starlink. Oh, yeah, well, now we can deploy these low Earth orbit satellites. That is not a sustainable business model. Satellites in LEO fall out of the sky, and you have to keep repopulating them. So the argument that now we can give internet access to rural individuals is stupid, because what it costs to just string some kind of cabled data connection out to a rural individual will be so much more cost efficient than constantly launching satellites into low Earth orbit. So, kind of putting this all together, I'm glad. I feel like there needs to be a massive market correction for the valuation on every single thing that Elon Musk has touched. Twitter was not worth the tens of billions of dollars that Elon Musk paid for it. Tesla has never been worth their valuation. SpaceX cannot show a consistent business model worthy of anything near the valuation of their IPO, let alone how the IPO popped after it launched. And to that point, I don't know, I was like feeling frisky. So I looked up the stock price today. And here, let me go ahead and screen share this. Literally just from the Microsoft Bing stock ticker today. So over the 5 days, it launched somewhere at like 168, I think that was, or 160. Immediately jumped to the 170s, hit a high of, what is that, 220? So stock price jumped from like 160 to 220. And today has plummeted back down to 160. Closed at hit a low of 166, but closed at 168. So basically, any value from the IPO, from its launch, has vanished. So what are we doing? Following this roller coaster ride of it's up 40 points and now it's down 40 points. This shape, as I look at the stock price on a website right now, technically means that over 2 days, hundreds of billions of dollars of value were magically created out of thin air. And then SpaceX bought a ridiculous, overvalued coding startup at a time where Anthropic can't even monetize its current coding apps as effectively. And now all of those hundreds of billions of dollars of value have just vanished. How is this a real system? I remember taking some basic econ in high school and college. And I remember in high school, I had this one teacher who just thought all of this was such a sick joke. He would talk about, like, at one point, Campbell's occupied like 70% of the canned soup market. Like, yeah, that's a really successful company. But they just couldn't show growth to occupy more than that 70%. You're like, well, that's stupid, though. They still, 3 out of every 5 cans of soup are purchased are Campbell's. Yeah, but they couldn't keep growing, so they were deemed a failure. You're like, oh, well then, I guess that sucks. And we're gonna sit here and pretend that this is how all of this should function. I can't. So I guess the stock started. I'm trying to look up. Come on, show me more data. Show me from before. I know, like, the stock started at like 140, so it could still be up. I don't know, millions of billions of dollars over this period of time. But realistically, this idea that SpaceX was going to become this massive institution, $2 trillion company. No, I don't see that happening in this current trajectory and this current trend. I love this, like, this little rebound. So it hit a low of like 166, 166.30, and then rallied just before the close here at 166.94. And we need another massive correction on this. It's not good. It's really not good. All right. So JGJ, I'm seeing Steam machines being reviewed. I mean, showcased. Yeah, I caught a couple headlines on that too. I'm not digging too deep into this because honestly, I can't with YouTubers right now. And I've said this before on way too many podcasts, but I really hated the gamers acting like Steam Machine had to be like $400 or, half a ham sandwich and a hearty handshake with eye contact, or it's going to be a failure. And I'm curious to see what it is, but the one I'm really anxious about is Frame. I really need to see what's going on with Steam Frame. Ron GKP, maybe Elon graduated from Trump University School of Business. He does kind of seem like someone who would have read The Art of the Deal and thought that that was good advice from a man who bankrupted casinos. John Gow, ugh, it's still $30 higher than the $135 IPO. Was the IPO at 135? I want to say, I thought the IPO was like 150. But again, I just looked up the 3-month outlook just to see where it tried to start at, and the lowest number it goes to on the Microsoft stock tracker was 140. But even then, even at 140, it's way overvalued. The valuation of that company at 140 puts it ahead of companies like Walmart. Walmart generates billions of dollars of profit every year. SpaceX loses billions of dollars every year. Make it make sense. What is the business model? Being an AI company means it's going to lose billions more every year. And it's worth more than Walmart. I freaking hate Walmart. All right. Oh yeah, JGJ, growth at all costs, private equity absorption. It is definitely that mindset, that business just taking root in the ugliest possible way. Go V8. Yeah, man. You know something else that never stops growing? Cancer. Yep. That's exactly the point my high school teacher was getting at. This system is based on an idea that if you can't show growth in an industry, even when you occupy like 60 or 70% of the market, you could be accused of being a monopoly at 70% of the market, but you can't show just another percentage growth. Well, it means your business is tapped out. You're done. It's a failure. It's all she wrote, boys. There you go. Man, the 80s were a wild time. The 90s weren't much better. Um, oh yeah, WX Rummer, man, from your fingers and keyboard to I don't know, the elders of the internet's ears. Brendan Carr is the fool who wants to use low Earth orbit satellites for rural internet instead of cellular tower infrastructure. I wonder why. It seems that certain businesses are appreciated in this current political administration, and when certain services are rendered for those political individuals, those businesses tend to get kind of a preferential treatment when these kinds of plans are being built for public funding. I I said this during the first Trump administration. Never forget that all of the lobbyists acting on behalf of internet service providers and cell phone providers, all of them have advocated significantly and have lobbied politicians to say internet service needs to be funded publicly and you need to put more money into infrastructure, and taxpayers have to fuel all of the growth of our telecommunications system, but you should never be able to regulate us, and we get all the profit just for being the storefront. So ostensibly a communications outlet, maybe like a spectcast, right? Let's call it like a spectcast. They sell broadband internet. They're saying to make our internets better, the public needs to pay for it. And then we'll just set up a little plywood front face of a business, and the customer comes in through that front face and gives us money. But you shouldn't be able to regulate what we do with their internets. You shouldn't be able to tell us to stop spying on all the people who use our internets. We're allowed to sell off all of their user data because the FTC disclosed how much data is trafficked from internet service providers and recommended the FCC get involved, but they didn't. And so we get to keep all the profits of all the work that was done by taxpayers. And you're like, well, are you going to pay taxpayers back? No. Do we get a cut of the business? Like, do we get like earnings or percentages? No. Are prices going to get lower? No. The internet service is better, so we'll need to raise prices for all the infrastructure costs. But it was the taxpayers who funded that. Yeah. And that's what we have now, thanks to people voting in Donald Trump. Again, this was already part of the plan with Ajit Pai. It was always about regulatory capture. Now it's even worse with Brendan Carr. It's great. It's great. All right, so now we're going to start shifting into more techie news, and we can kind of move through these. I was really disappointed to hear a little gaming news, actually. I was really disappointed to hear when Sony was pulling way back from releasing games for PC. I really like Spider-Man Remastered. I played God of War on PC. Horizon, I played on PC. I thought this was a great program. I didn't like how long their delay was, but I thought it was pretty cool. Like, I'm probably never going to buy a console ever again, or at least not like a dedicated walled off Nintendo, Xbox, or PlayStation. I really just love what I can do with PC gaming. I'm buying more games on GOG now. I like being able to control things. Like I can download an installer and save it on my NAS. And now that game is a little bit better buffered or protected from being removed from a catalog. Even against how much I love Steam, I'm not really buying a lot on Steam unless I'm getting it on crazy sales, like Humble Bundle kinds of sales. I'm not, anyway. Excuse me. So when it came to Sony and their decision to pull out of the PC market, and we shared a link on the Discord talking about like their changes in their corporate policy, and they removed things like sustainable growth and increased PC audiences. I really believed the tone of the commentary coming out of Sony was, we did this experiment, we wanted to see if it was successful. We really it just didn't hit the benchmarks that we hoped it would. And I could kind of believe that. You release a game a year or 2 years later after it was released on console. Yeah, okay, that's kind of a bummer. I appreciated it, and I have a good chunk of the Sony library from distribution on PC. Well, it seems like I was really stupid naive. This is an article coming from Respawn First, written up by Sikandar Mahmood. Data shows Sony made good money on Steam, then may have realized PC gamers don't need a PlayStation. So according to this article, PlayStation Studio games made more than 1.5 billion in gross revenue on Steam. So after Valve's cut, that's 1.2 billion, while overall PlayStation ports sold roughly 43 million copies on Steam for PC. This is their editorial. This is not me quoting. This is not me editorializing. This is not a failed experiment. In fact, it is a reminder that PC players will buy PlayStation blockbuster IP when Sony lets them. The biggest success for PlayStation on PC was Helldivers 2, which sold an estimated 12.7 million copies on Steam and made Sony 400 million in gross revenue. Even more telling, Alien is that Alien? Alien? Anyway, shows the co-op shooter sold more than twice as many copies on Steam as it did on Sony's own PlayStation 5. But Sony's hook, I believe, this is not their article, this is my contribution and editorializing of their editorial. I believe Sony's strategy was put out these games, build the interest, keep players delayed so they can't experience the game when it's a part of the zeitgeist, but they'll get in there, play a Spider-Man. They'll get into Spider-Man. They'll play a God of War. They'll get into God of War. And then they won't want to miss out on the next release. And the only way to be on the hook, on the bleeding edge, on the precipice of the new is to also make sure you have a PlayStation. But that didn't happen. And they vastly underestimated how patient PC gamers can be. I am emblematic of the patient gamer. I am cool, waiting out all the bug fixes, all the patches, a couple DLCs, and then jumping in when the game's on a good sale. And I mean a good sale. And I think there are a lot of PC gamers out there that can sustain that kind of waiting game who aren't going to want to buy a dedicated box just to play the PlayStation games when their all-purpose computer box is significantly more powerful and offers up a better overall experience for the way that they want to play those games. 1.5 billion in revenue for older PlayStation titles. And a leading edge, a major part of the community on Helldivers jumping in. So as soon as you see, especially in like a game like Helldivers, as soon as you see that the PC players were starting to outpace the PlayStation players, well, that's a major concern. because Sony wanted them to be paying for a PlayStation and getting a Sony subscription and getting, buying more games to subsidize the cost of the box. And that's how they were going to make their money in the long run. And that didn't happen. So it's really a bummer. I'm kind of torn because I feel like Microsoft was early to this idea of anything that can kind of play games can also kind of be a game console in some fashion, right? They they were misguided and they did that stupid everything's an Xbox campaign, which completely burned a lot of goodwill from Xbox gamers who bought an Xbox box and put that Xbox box under their TV box, and that's how they played their Xbox games. People want to feel like they're a part of a team. People want to feel that's their in-group against other out-groups. It's very religious. It's very culty. But psychologically, that marketing works really well. So to erode the value of being in the in-group by saying anything can be a game-playing device really did damage to the psychology of the gaming nerds that were all in on Xbox. But I think we're wrestling with this idea. Like, when I can pick up a phone and install an app that emulates a PC, and I can play some pretty decently beefy games from my Steam account directly on my phone, that's a rough place for a Sony to be when they still depend on people buying the box. And that's the way they control their ecosystem. So I don't think there's much life left in this. I think Nintendo will probably survive these console wars a bit more gracefully because of the way they can lock down Nintendo properties. But I think increasingly, Xbox is going to have the hardest future roadmap. PlayStation is going to be pretty close behind them in terms of like gamers wanting to buy a PlayStation 6. Well, what exclusives were so necessary for the PlayStation 5? I think Sony has a lot to make up. Like, well, the graphics got a little bit prettier, and your loading times got a little bit shorter until the games got bigger, and then your loading times were longer again. I think Nintendo, especially with the Switch strategy, at least has this kind of crossover. You've got a portable device, you've got a home game playing solution. It's the only place where you can get Mario. So they'll coast a bit longer on this. But even Nintendo, at some point, will have to face this idea of a game is a piece of software and a computer is a device that runs software. So how do we reconcile spending hundreds and hundreds or thousands of dollars on future boxes to run the software when other computing devices might be able to accomplish that for us? But it is kind of a bummer. Like, I was willing to go with Sony, like, oh, maybe this experiment just didn't pay out. Maybe PC gaming isn't valuable enough. But to see older titles generating millions of sales really bums me out that Sony, again, I think short term, this was a necessary course correction to protect the console, but long term, I think is going to damage their future software licensing strategies. How do you make money on the game? Make money on the game. And that's not apparently what they want. They want, I mean, they do want to make money on the game, but they want consumer lock-in, so that they have a direct pipe to not only your money on the game, but your money on the box and your money on a monthly subscription. And I don't want to give them that because I'm a PC gamer. It's pretty dumb. Oh, Mountain Dew Lou. Me barely using my Switch 2. I've always been a PC guy since I was a kid. So here's the thing. I have not been very impressed with Nintendo's launch strategy for the Switch 2. I still have a first launch group Steam Deck LCD. I haven't even gone, I didn't switch over to a Steam Deck OLED. My Steam Deck LCD has been fine. I still need to replace the fan in it, but it's been doing me fine. If you feel like you're not getting a whole lot out of that Switch 2 and everything that's going on in the market right now, and the fact that Nintendo just did a price hike on the Switch 2, I'd say sell it. I am sitting on way too much junk right now. I got a couple laptops. I think I need to sell them. Wipe them out, get rid of them. I've got a lot of phones. I really need to start getting rid of them. And this stuff isn't bringing me joy. A new update just arrived for Vampire Survivors, and it brought in just a new method for tracking your achievements and like a couple new characters to play, a couple new power-ups. The game is ridiculous, but I still cannot help myself but 100% complete Vampire Survivors. Every time new achievements are out, I have to do the new achievements. I have to unlock the new characters. I love it. I love it. There's a joy in picking up my Steam Deck, pushing that little power button, turning on Vampire Survivors, grinding for a half hour, pushing that power button, putting Vampire Survivors down again. I love it. It is so much fun. Increasingly, I'm starting to have those kinds of experiences playing on a phone. I went hard on Cuphead again because I could play it on a phone with a better screen, with a higher frame rate than I could on my Steam Deck. I can't see as much benefit. This is for me personally. I can't see as much benefit for a locked up console like a Switch 2. I hate that I'll miss out on a Metroid. I hate that I'll miss out on a Donkey Kong, on a new Mario. I didn't like the look of the new Mario Kart, and I really liked what the new Sonic Crossworlds kart racer did instead. My daughter and I burned a lot of time on Crossworlds and Team Sonic Racing, but it makes me sad. Like, I've always loved Mario Kart. Since the Super Nintendo, I've loved Mario Kart. This is the first one where I'm like, I don't think this is for me. Sell it. I sell your Switch 2. Go, biggie size a fast food meal because it'll be as much money as you'll get for your Switch 2, and just enjoy that moment where you brought yourself some happiness from not having a Switch 2. Sorry, Mountain Dew, that was not useful advice. From Ishmael, I think the last game I played is American McGee's Alice Returns, the early 2000s. There are many games to catch up. Yeah, American McGee's Alice Returns. Yeah, Ishmael, you have a wealth of plenty. If you were to jump back into gaming now, you could do a whole lot. Have a lot of really great gaming experiences. We got a pair of Microsoft stories because I know everybody loves talking about how Microsoft does good stuff, right? So, two changes that I actually think are kind of positive. First, this is coming by way of windowslatest.com, written up by Abjith, I think, Abjith MB. Microsoft just de-bloated Windows 11 search without Bing, and it's crazy fast. So there's the insider experimental build of Windows 11 version 26H2. So that's the second half of 2026, the update that's going to be coming to Windows 11. And they're showing off the new start menu. And when you search for something in the start menu, how it's way cleaner because it's just local search again. I don't know who at Microsoft thought, hey, someone hit start and started searching for something that lives on their computer. You know what we should do is have that search hit their internet connection and search Bing for things that could be related. I don't know about y'all, but that's always been the frick terrible. Like, I know I've got some weird little applets and I've got some weird local programs that aren't even installed, but I know like I could put a shortcut and then search for that shortcut and then just run that little program. But instead, if I start typing the name of the program, it takes me to a web search that takes me to a website where I can download the program and install the program that's already on my computer. And I will be so happy when that goes away. So this has the twofold effect of, one, cleaning up the search because you want to find things that live on your computer, and two, that's going to happen so much faster now because it's not pulling up an individual instance of Bing search. I don't know what's going on at Microsoft right now. I made this joke a lot, like, oh, they're making all these changes. There does seem to be a bit of a pivot. They're introducing a new scheduling option so that certain chipsets can get higher performance out of Windows 11. Like it would use more electricity, more power, but if you have the performance, why not speed up interactions in the operating system? They're getting rid of bloated search. They're starting to scale back on how they're stitching AI into every single little app and property that they make. And then on top of that, they're looking at some smart strategic partnerships. Now, I'm sure this has already been called bloatware, but Microsoft is going to partner with Affintiy. This is written up by Jaron Schneider over at Petapixel. Affintiy will now come pre-installed on Windows Surface computers. So I am still skeptical about Affinitiy's business model. Affintiy is a really great suite of photo editing, not composer, what do you call that? Composition software so that you can make better websites or make better flyers, digital graphic design, really cool stuff. I only used Affintiy as photo editing. So my favorite way to process a raw file from a camera was Affintiy 2. And Affintiy was really early to supporting Windows on ARM. So Affintiy was so early, they brought in support for the 8CX generation prior to the Snapdragon X chips. They were supporting the Snapdragon 8CX Gen 2 and Gen 3. Really good stuff. They've since moved to this sort of freemium business model where the main core program is free. You can download Affintiy, you can fire it up, and then they're going to be monetizing in ways in the future. I still just stuck with Affintiy 2. I paid for Affintiy version 2. It's installed on all my computers. It works great. I love it. It is my favorite way. It's kind of like Lightroom, but with some work that you can do in layers, kind of like Photoshop, and text tools and things like that. You can finish a photo or a graphic design project in Affinitiy's collection of apps, or you can just use it like Lightroom and process a raw file and make your photo prettier. But now, again, this partnership seems to be mutually beneficial. If you try to edit a photo on a Windows computer just out of the box, Microsoft Photos is kind of lame. It's not a great way to edit a photo. And I don't love like the recent AI tools. So like you go in and you can cut your subject out from the background, and it takes a lot longer than doing it on a phone. You can use magic eraser style tools. It's a generative eraser, which again, like on a Pixel, magic eraser works better, works faster. Or the other one is you can give it a prompt so that it will AI-ify a photo you actually have. So I have this photo of like a turkey vulture, and I say, make this photo look like a Muppet. And it tries to make the turkey vulture look like a Muppet. And you're like, cool. Now I have a really fake photo of a Muppet vulture. I'm glad this is burning up electricity on device. This is so awesome. But partnering with Affintiy means that if you buy a Surface, the pre-installed photo editing is going to be Lightroom grade. So Affintiy has some of these AI tools. Affinity's subject detection is really good. You can process a photo, you can process a RAW, you can take it from a more professional camera or from a phone. Like, there's a lot you can do with this. And of course, and people have already brought it up, and someone on the Discord mentioned too, it's, oh, well, this is just going to be bloat. It's bloatware. I'm still anxious about Affinity's business model, but let me tell you, even this new freemium version of Affintiy is head and shoulders better than anything that has ever been included on a Microsoft computer before. To me, this would be like, okay, This would be like, say you want to edit some video and you bought a Windows laptop. When you buy a Surface laptop, there is a video editor on that laptop. It's called Clipchamp. Clipchamp is fucking stupid. I hate Clipchamp in for very similar reasons why I don't like video editing apps like CapCut. Things that your computer can do are held back unless you're paying for extended subscription models. So let's say you've got some video in 4K and you're like, hey, my computer can definitely edit 4K video. There's no problem with the processing power, and I have a video editing program called Clipchamp that has modes that support 4K video editing. The only thing that's going to make that a little bit slower is literally the processing power of that computer. And then you drop that into your timeline and you say, okay, well, I've cut it all up. Now my 4K video that I've cut up and made into a new video, turn that into a 4K video. No. You need to have some kind of subscription to do that. And that's greedy and cynical and ruthlessly stupid. So, one solution would be go get the free version of DaVinci Resolve. No watermarks, no timeouts, no limits to the projects that you can handle, but it does segment some of the more advanced GPU stuff, some of the plugins, some of the processing effects, stuff like that. But you just want to cut up a 4K video and turn it into a new 4K video. DaVinci Resolve can do that for free. Kdenlive, Shotcut. I mean, there are a bunch of these like open source and free video editors that can do all this work for you. But Clipchamp, that came pre-installed on your Microsoft Surface laptop, will not let you do more advanced things with your video unless you pay to unlock those features. To me, getting Affintiy pre-installed on a Windows machine is kind of like, what if I just had DaVinci Resolve pre-installed and I'd never have to worry? Someone would look at what was installed on their computer. They can say, oh, well, there's a video editing program on my computer and it's not Clipchamp. And I can just go start cutting in real video editing software. Affintiy is like that. It's like having Adobe Lightroom and most of Adobe Photoshop and InDesign kinds of tools pre-installed. You don't need an Adobe subscription. You can just start doing all of that work for free. Well, not for free, for included in the price of the laptop having it pre-installed. And if you want to play with all this stuff, you can go and install Affintiy now for free too. I just feel like people get so like, oh, I didn't want this thing pre-installed. Well, the solution you would have had pre-installed to edit a photo is Microsoft Photos. It kind of sucks. So take the better partnership. Take the third-party app that's going to be installed instead. If it were DaVinci Resolve, if it was like, we're going to give you the full Adobe suite, a lot of people would be like, yes, Adobe is an industry standard. And a lot of people would also say, oh no, that's bloat. I don't want Adobe on my machine. But Adobe would come with ruthless subscription prices, the most predatory practices in pulling money out of your pocket every month. And Affintiy gets you most of the way to a lot of the Adobe photo work, and you don't have to spend a dime. So I feel like that one's okay. We can say it's all right to have a program of that caliber pre-installed. Doulos the Prophet, I think, is backing me up here. Affintiy greater than Adobe. I have completely removed myself from Adobe's suite. Every now and then I work with a client who has to have some kind of Adobe Cloud project management verification. And it's like I've got to relearn everything from scratch. But I still end up doing a lot of my work in DaVinci and in Affintiy, and then just fitting it into their project templates and their project management. I don't miss it. I bought DaVinci Resolve, I think at version 15 or 16. I can't remember which now, but I bought it. It came with two licenses. It was $250, and I've not spent another dime on DaVinci Resolve since. We just got the update to DaVinci Resolve 21. So I'll round down, say 5 or 6 years of updates and software support, and I'm still on the original $250 that I spent when it came out. I bought Affintiy 1 and Affintiy 2. I bought them both on sales where I got the complete Affintiy collection. I want to say it was like $50 a piece. So I've spent $100 on version 1 and version 2 of Affintiy. So grand total for roughly 6 years of photo, video, composing tools, I'm at under $400. And everything else in between, I've been able to fulfill what I need to do to get my work done with GIMP and Kdenlive and Shotcut and Xenview. And I'm using a whole suite of open source tools on top of what I do in those 2 paid programs. It's been awesome. I've not been beholden to Adobe for anything. I really wish more people would just kind of look at some of these things and not be so quick to say, oh, it's going to be bloat. Microsoft, they're always bloating up my computers. I love it when Apple just displaces competitors in the market. Why can't you just make Microsoft Adobe and give me all the Microsoft Adobe apps? This is great. It's awesome. Let's see. Mountain Dew Lou, because Microsoft is Microslop, excuse me. Microslop is scared of Valve and SteamOS. If Valve eats into their market more than they already have, they will continue to bleed gamers. I think that is definitely going to be a continued track record, though, because of what's happening in component pricing, and especially that last week. Last week we were talking about the hard truths of the Xbox division. We need to see some massive shifts in corporate policy because they're starting to ostracize markets of consumers because they're so focused on AI. Microsoft at the top of this corporate heap is still looking at massive data centers, cloud services, cloud AI, and it will cost them individual consumers. Right now, they can weather that storm. If the bottom drops out of AI, they'll wish they had those countries and consumers back. Future, it's here. Just wishing everyone happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, Future. John Gow, Steam Machine starts at $1,049 for 512 gigs without a controller. That makes me feel much better. Hold on. We're going to take a quick pause from my lineup. I'm going to see if I can verify that, John. Oh, yeah, The Verge. Like first one out. Steam Machine 512 gig, 1049. Excuse me, 1049. Steam Machine 512 with a Steam controller bundle is 1128. So you get the controller about $20 off. The 2 terabyte Steam Machine is going to be $1,300. So I want to compare. I like Geekom's build, but let me see if they've got an AMD HX. Oh, that's right. It's not geekom.com. It's geekompc.com. If anyone has like $30,000 and wants to buy the geekom.com website listing, that would be great. So let's see. So mini PC, AMD series. Let's go AI9 HX470. And that's a 32 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte. Let's go to 32 gigs of RAM, 2 terabyte. MSRP, $2,299. Oh, let me screen share this. I'm sorry, I did this whole thing. Steam Machine for 2 terabyte Steam Machine, $1,349. $1,350 is what Valve is going to charge you for a Steam Machine. if we go up to one of the current top of the line AMD APUs in a mini PC, MSRP $2,299, sale price $1,699, with another promo code that can take it to $1,427. So one of my favorite mini PC manufacturers is still going to be about $100 more for an AMD APU 2 terabyte mini PC over the Steam machine. And pros and cons. I really like Geekom's build quality for their mini PCs, but they all use external power bricks. So the Steam machine is going to be a fully contained internal power supply PC. Some people might like that. Some people might want the smaller size or the VESA bracket compatibility. You can pop a mini PC onto the back of a TV. That is much better pricing than what I thought Steam Machine was going to arrive at. I really thought there would be the potential for a starting price Steam Machine closer to $1,500. So this has given me a little hope that I'll still be able to afford a frame when we get some word on Steam Frame finally launching. This is a good one. This makes me excited. And also, if you don't need the portability of a Steam Deck, this is going to be a much more powerful living room gaming experience than taking your Steam Deck and plugging it into your TV. And the OLED Steam Deck is closing in on $1,000 for that top spec model. Now at $1,000, it's less storage. You could augment that yourself later if you absolutely needed to, but $1,050 is pretty good. I can't find many PCs that will be as powerful as Steam Machine that will cost noticeably less. It just doesn't exist, especially with how expensive components like RAM are. So it's pretty great. It's really good. JGJ, just getting back to our last article. If you want to leave the Redmond paradigm, use Linux. That's what a lot of countries are doing. A lot of governments around the world are leaving and going to Linux, leaving Microsoft Office and going to forks of LibreOffice and AnyOffice and OpenOffice and stuff like that. From Future, it's here. Juan, you're missing a big thing in this. Microsoft has, over the years, protected its partners, and Adobe is one. If they are going with Affinity, then they are breaking old partnerships, which is great for Windows. And again, they seem to be loosening up how they work exclusive support. So like Qualcomm was the Windows on ARM exclusive manufacturer, but now NVIDIA is going to jump in the game, and NVIDIA is tapping MediaTek for CPU support. So Microsoft, there's a path, not a guarantee, but there is a path now where MediaTek, maybe in another year or two, could be offering up Companion chips to laptop manufacturers for better low-cost student laptops running Windows. There's some flexibility here. For the longest time, it was like Microsoft and Intel, done. But now it's Microsoft and Intel and Qualcomm and NVIDIA is working with MediaTek. That's a very big shift in how they're getting stuff done. From Goat V8, this is totally dead on arrival. It should be $39. But for real, a little less than I was expecting, not bad. So I have to believe that Steam, that Valve, they are looking at heavily subsidizing this hardware to help encourage people to buy more games. It totally worked on me. When I got my Steam Deck, I started buying a lot more games on Steam. Honestly, I was buying a lot more Humble Bundles, but I was more likely to see an okay sale and just buy the game because it worked so well, that entire purchasing process through my Steam Deck. For years before the Steam Deck launched, I'd play games on my PC, but I wasn't really that hardcore into gaming. Steam Deck completely rekindled my casual playing mentality. I think Steam Machine can do something similar in a world where future Xboxes and future PlayStations are probably also going to hit $1,000 price points. I'm gonna blitz because we're already at 10:50, and I do want to get to some of the more gadgety news still. I'm gonna include this article. This is a little deep. I'm not gonna go too hard on this, but JGJ was saying, "Hey, if you want to be free of Redmond's business policies, you can go Linux. And if you're one of those people like me who appreciates a good ARM chip, this is written up by Jean-Luc Alfranc at CNX Software. Qualcomm promises a major reset with upstream first Qualcomm Linux 2.0 for Dragonwing IoT platforms. So, Dragonwing is a series of chips that are very much like the Snapdragon chips, but they're kind of built more for embedded systems, robots, AI systems, things like that. But component wise, they're similar enough. If we got improvements to how Qualcomm is pushing improvements upstream for Linux for Dragonwing, it is likely that we'll see improvements for Linux support on Snapdragon chips too. This is a part, they go into much greater detail in this article. And like I said, everything that I talk about, go hit the show notes, go hit the link, read up on this article. But one of the things that's interesting is this is not, because there's a Qualcomm Linux program. So Qualcomm Linux 2.0 isn't an evolution of their current program. This is kind of a fresh new start with a much more open and a much more aggressive platforming of Linux for Qualcomm chips. So I'm hoping that this means we're going to see a much faster adoption of Linux for Qualcomm powered systems. There's this like token effort to run Ubuntu on a Snapdragon. There have been a couple like hackathons that have gotten Linux running on Snapdragon. Qualcomm chips have a lot of proprietary little bits that they're not going to just submit all of their proprietary driver software support just upstream into a Linux kernel. So there are all these little nuggets that still have to be proprietarily locked down. But if they can complement their Linux kernel support with those little extra obnoxious bits, this could be a big step forward next year for adopting Linux. Like if I just want to run Mint on my Surface 7, that would be really cool. I really wish I could do that and do it easily and show people like, oh, and this is how you can just switch over. This is one of the stumbling blocks for Windows on ARM. So, I mean, not just Windows on ARM, but for ARM chips in general, is this kind of support for future longevity. At some point, Microsoft is going to say, my Surface laptop just can't get updates anymore, right? But I took an old gaming laptop and I put Ubuntu on it, and my daughter loves that machine. And someday I'm going to do that to my Surface 7 and say, well, like, hey, if I can't get Windows 13, I'm fine with that. I'll run some future Linux distro if we can make this stuff happen and make it run well enough, easy enough for people to support. Oh yeah, and future it's here, exactly the same. I also want to see MediaTek Companion Ultra running Linux as well. MediaTek will be another one that takes a little while to get there. If you are a Pixel owner like I am, I just don't really use a Pixel for anything. Unfortunately, it looks like Android 17 appears to have broken 5G for some Pixel owners, written up by Jay Bonglato over at Android Authority. From the TLDR, Android 17 stable rollout is causing headaches for some Pixel users, with reports of 5G connectivity disappearing after the update. The bug appears to affect multiple Pixel models, including the Pixel 9 Pro, 8 Pro, 8A, and 6A. And I think they're missing the point. I think this is actually, this is Microsoft, this is Google looking at your behavior and saying, hey, to, kind of improve mindfulness, we're just going to cut off your 5G. You're spending too much time online. You're doing way too many Gemini prompts, using all this AI, using all this social media. We got to slow you down. So if you're on a Pixel 9 Pro, we're just going to cut off those 5Gs so that you just go outside, touch some grass, and talk to your kids, maybe give your wife a hug, and then you can fire up your Gemini ultra super duper subscription again and have your parasocial relationship with your chatbot. So I think like Android Authority here is kind of missing the human safety. Google is actually doing us a kindness in breaking the data connection on the Pixel. So it's not that you're holding it wrong, like an iPhone. It's you're using it too much. So they're just gonna shut you. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm trying to make this. I am so disappointed in Google and Pixel right now. I'm so disappointed in Google still doing all of this AI junk. I think the Pixel phones, this Pixel 10 Pro I have in front of me has been one of the more disappointing purchases I've made. I use it not at all. It brings me zero joy. I have it right next to my Vivo X300 Pro and my Vivo X300 Ultra and some Xiaomi phones. And I've got some mid-rangers. I've got my OnePlus 15 over there. Literally 12 phones on my desk right now that I would pick up and use before I would consider handling this Pixel 10 Pro. And it makes me so sad, having been such a big Pixel nerd, like especially in the Pixel 4 era, from like Pixel 4 to like Pixel 8, I was on board. This was a great experiment. I love seeing Google do something disruptive. And then from Pixel 8 on, just, wow, this sucks. I hate it. This is awesome. For JGJ, talking about that last article. Well, obviously, Windows is going to skip 13 to avoid bad luck. And I'll skip it too. My service will have, I don't know. You know what? I don't hate on Ubuntu. I kind of like Ubuntu. Mountain Dew Lou, Valve is doing more with ARM. It's why the Steam Frame is a thing to happen. And I can't wait for it. I am now hopeful that Steam Frame might not be a $2,000 headset. We'll have to see. Some bummer news in the world of phones. I was kind of hoping to spend some time with one of these because I have not reviewed a CMF. But what do we got here? This is from Vlad over at GSM Arena. Nothing cancels the CMF Phone 3 Pro, and you can probably guess why. I want to say here from the article, CMF line was the ultra budget one from Nothing, and the cheaper the phone, the more it's negatively impacted by surging memory prices. Evangelidis says the company simply, quote, can't build a phone that feels like a genuine step forward at a price that makes sense for CMF. And this is increasingly one of the business tactics that we're going to see, because we already see it in like the service industry. I mean, look at movie theaters. Fewer seats, but the tickets are more expensive. Look at the restaurant industry. Fewer customers, but prices got more expensive even on fast food. And now it's going to start hitting phones too. Maybe serve fewer customers and your products aren't budget low cost anymore. But if you can move up the food chain and sell a more expensive phone with more profit margin padding, then your company can still do well. So increasingly, it's the consumers at the sort of more average consumer level, middle class, entry level devices, just kind of like, I need a good laptop that my kids can use for school. All of those people are going to get hurt as these things get more expensive first. And the wealthier, oh, well, if my iPhone is now $200 more expensive from last year to this year, that's fine. I'll still buy it. The wealthier people are going to keep subsidizing the erosion of the lower level markets. And it's going to be rough. But it was kind of a bummer because I did want to, I didn't hate my time with the Nothing phone, and I kind of wanted to see what a CMF could offer. But now it seems like that's not going to be the thing I do, which is interesting because the flip side of this conversation, another story, is they were like back to back for me on GSM Arena, also written by Vlad, was OnePlus defies RAM crisis and offers the 15R with more memory. So there's a version of the OnePlus 15R that is only going to be sold in India for now, but it's not getting a ridiculous price hike. So now there are going to be two models of OnePlus 15R, one that starts with 12 gigs of RAM and comes with 256 gig or 512 gig of storage, and then a higher tier model that comes with 16 gigs of RAM and the 512 gigs of storage. The price on that is going to be around $650. So for a phone with one of the largest batteries on a production phone, it's got that decently powerful Snapdragon chip inside. It's going to have 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of storage, and is going to sell for the equivalent of $650 US. I would take that OnePlus over most Apple, Google, and Samsung $1,000 phones. I think it will be a better phone. It'll get better battery life. It'll charge way faster. My wife is currently on the 13R, and she seems to be doing well with the 13R. I'm still thinking she might switch over to the Clicks communicator after I get done reviewing that phone. But the R series phones have been great for this idea of a nicer built mid-ranger phone. This is kind of like the MacBook Neo of a premium phone, right? It's not cheap. It's not a budget option. It's not entry level. Some people still throw around phrases like flagship killer, but really what this is a battery life killer. It is way better for someone who's doing more than just the basics, but isn't tapping into like heavy lifting. And this is a person who will probably get 3 days of battery life out of this phone and then charge it in 30 minutes, which is absolutely not something an iPhone can do anywhere near $650. That iPhone doesn't exist, nor does that Galaxy, nor does that Pixel. And it's so sad to me that we're probably going to see this brand quietly limp their way out of North America. I'm still hoping that doesn't happen. But seeing this happen in India, this is pricey. That is an expensive phone. $650 is not a cheap phone, but it improved. Getting more RAM at that higher level of storage is great. Great. The price window, again, we're converting from Indian currency to the United States. So the base model 12 gig 256 retails for about $580. So to add 30% more RAM and double the storage is still less than $100 price increase. I feel that's pretty good. I feel like that's not something that you see often with like a Samsung or a Pixel. I feel like those price increases are a bit bigger when we start talking about the premium upper mid-rangers from those kinds of brands. From Goat V8 is the same RAM and memory speeds. I know some companies have gone backwards there. He means RAM and storage speeds. I don't know. Genuinely, when we've got a Snapdragon 8 Gen 5, I've seen very little to suggest that there is a tangible difference in real-world performance based on the storage speeds of how Android handles the UFS chips in those phones. I can show you a synthetic benchmark where there are more megabits that travel per second, but what practical impact is that going to have on pulling phone from pocket, taking a photo of your lunch and opening the gallery? I doubt it's going to be a significant reduction. Will a phone that has faster storage access load a level in Tomb Raider 2013 faster? Scientifically, yes. Will that really dampen the experience of graphics intense gaming on this phone? I can't believe it will. So if the choice is I can have 16 gigs of slightly slower RAM and 512 gigs of slightly slower storage at a very reasonable price, I think a lot of people will take those compromises. I think a lot of people are going to be fine with that. Oh, for Mountain Dew Lou, I am considering the OnePlus Nord 6 for my dad or the 15R. If we do get it, I have been trying to get my dad away from Samsung. I just think it's one of those things where it's worth the shot. My mom still loves OnePlus just because of all that battery tech. That her phone can last for multiple days on a charge. She's purposely going out of her way to not charge every day. And when she does charge, she charges for like 20 minutes. And then she's back up to like 90%. And then her phone's going to last another 2 or 3 days of her kind of use. And she cannot do that on a Pixel. She cannot do that on an iPhone. And she cannot do that on a Galaxy. And she especially can't do that anywhere near the price of what her OnePlus 11 sold for when it was brand new. It's just not a thing. Moving right along, another just fun announcement, and I'm really anxious to see how this plays out too. This is from Notebook Check, written up by Abid Shanto. RedMagic reveals new Lenovo Legion Tab Gen 5 rival with OLED display. This is a very clumsy headline. RedMagic is releasing a gaming tablet, and the tablet is doing battle against the Lenovo Legion. But think of how you have to say all that. RedMagic reveals new Lenovo Legion Tab Gen 5 rival. That is way too many words to get to the comparison that they're implying in this headline. RedMagic is teasing a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 tablet. Is going to be released alongside the 11S Pro phone. We're looking at a 9-inch OLED with a 185 hertz refresh rate. Let me get this out of the way here. Expected to have a different name in global markets, similar design to the last RedMagic Astra. One primary difference is the RGB water cooling strip on the back. So there's this really pretty like RGB graphic on the back of the tablet that indicates the cooling on this. And they're looking, hold on, let me see. Other specs, sports and LCD. Did they have the pricing? So they're expecting it to go toe-to-toe against the Lenovo Legion, which is around a $700 tablet. Past reports further suggest that the RedMagic gaming tablet will sport an 8,300 milliamp hour battery, 24 gigs of RAM, and 1 terabyte of storage. But I guess we don't have rumors on pricing just yet. So I'll be curious to see what that arrives. I misread the article. I thought that $700 was the estimate for what this tablet will cost, but they're just saying it's supposed to do battle against a Lenovo Legion tablet, and that sells for around $700. I think this is still just a bit early, but is very encouraging because we're starting to see better PC emulation and support for gaming on our mobile devices. I've mentioned several times in this podcast, I like to pick up a phone and fire up a game like Cuphead. I got Alan Wake 2 running, but couldn't play it. The game crashed just as I started moving the character around at the beginning of Alan Wake 2. I'm so close. Control is playing really well on mobile devices if you start playing with like the different emulator settings and drivers for the GPU. I hate like, get the turnip driver. And like, okay, cool. Yes, I understand that. I want to just install the game and play. But all of that is getting better. I think we are really close. An 8 Elite Gen 5, especially the GPU performance, is solid enough. You can play a lot of really good stuff on that tablet. And if Steam Frame can help sort of expose more people to gaming on ARM, I think we'll start to see even better support, not only just for Android launches, like the games that you can buy on Google Play, but also for people supporting these emulator projects. I think all of that can grow. I think all of that will expand. It'll get better. It's not quite to the level of Steam Deck, where I pick up a Steam Deck and I install a game and I play the game. Lots of older games can do that. Tomb Raider 2013 does that really well. A Cuphead does that really well. There are lots of games that I can now play both on Steam and on Android. But for these newer, more graphics intense titles, we're still a little bit behind there. But even so, if we start to see this continued support for Android, getting really good games like Grid Legends, Balatro, stuff like that, that would be really cool. And then you can start working PC gaming on this too with a reasonable amount of storage, a terabyte of storage and enough RAM to drive an emulator and load that game. That could be really cool. You'll never get updates for it. But the hardware on RedMagic has always been top tier. So this is one of those things, like, I have the OnePlus tablet in front of me right now, the OnePlus Pad 3. It's not as powerful as this. It's a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, I think. I don't think it's the 8 Elite. I can't remember. But if I get one of those little magnetic coolers and I stick it to the back of the tablet where it runs the hottest, I have active cooling. Not a very good version of active cooling. But again, I can play some really good PC games on that tablet through GameSir's Game Hub. Uh, I don't know. I think we're close. I think we're really close to Android tablets starting to eat into the market for these standalone boutique handheld game playing devices. It'll be a while before an Android tablet is a preferred option for someone, but there's a lot that you can tinker with now, you can play with now. It's really fun when you get a game up and running. Oh, another one that I showed was all of the brawlers. So TMNT, Shredder's Revenge, Marvel Cosmic Invasion, the PC versions of Overcooked play really well on mobile, stuff like that. Super, super easy. Get that stuff, you just install it, run it, it plays great. I think we're getting close. I give it another 2 years, and someone will have to make a serious purchasing choice between getting another Asus ROG Ally, or maybe getting an all-purpose Android tablet and having something that can do more laptop-y work and can also play games really well. I think that's foreseeable. We could see something like that happening in the next 2 years. The consumers will have a choice there that could be really interesting. Let me take another drink of coffee. Two more stories, and then we can cap this out. And also, if people had questions, you want to talk about other stuff too, you go ahead and drop stuff in the chat. It's great. I screen shared instead of muting my microphone. That was really funny. I just thought this was kind of cute because we just got this news on Steam Machine, only costing $1,050. Really excited to see that. This is published by videocards.com, written up by Ycry. Steam frame controller FCC photos show AA battery layout. So we're starting to get little sneak peeks of the Steam frame. It's getting its FCC approvals, all of its licensing and registration looking like it's set. And these little cutesy controllers, full breakdowns with like the PCB and all the internals. It looks like it's going to be a single AA battery that powers the little hand grip and controller there. It says, according to this, it will ship with a non-rechargeable AA, but that rechargeable AAs will be supported, but no other further word on what Steam frame is going to cost or the teardown on the frame itself. Just a cute little look, something to kind of whet the appetite for frame. I'm really anxious. I want a frame so bad. I have wanted a Valve Index ever since I used one at Newegg, and just really haven't had the reason. So right now, like when I dabble with VR, it is really just dabbling, and I love the work that's been done recently for the Microsoft mixed reality headsets. A former engineer at Microsoft helped deliver software on Steam that opened up some of the support so that they could work again, because Microsoft tried to brick all that hardware. And it's been fun. Like I've been able to kind of get it back up and running again. And it's that really terrible low cost Acer headset. I just kind of like to dabble. I'll fling around some Beat Saber. It's fine. It's fun. It's cute. It's not like the best VR experience, but it's fun to mess around with. But I just haven't had a good reason to pick up a higher quality headset. I definitely don't want to go back to an older headset that requires like satellite sensors be placed in the room. I want it to be all contained, but I refuse to do business with Facebook and Meta and Oculus. Even though the Oculus headset, the hardware is pretty good, I hate their business model. I hate their exclusivity. I hate their like licensing and just like what you have to do to be a part of that ecosystem. I just don't want to give Facebook a dime if I can help it. Like I refuse to wear Meta glasses. I'm not going to wear Meta VR headset. So this is it. This is kind of like my last real big shot at a good standalone VR experience that can also work with a more powerful computer if I want to drive a higher quality VR experience that's backed by some kind of catalog of games. Microsoft gave up on me. I really wanted to stick with mixed reality as affordable ways to get people into VR. I turned so many people on to games like Beat Saber, was a brilliant ambassador for VR. I think people see a lot of the VR and like, oh, is it going to be like a really actiony first person shooter kind of game? I'm not into those. But like I hand people controllers and they're like, oh, I'm just like cutting up these bricks to the beat of the music. This is super fun. Yeah, that is something that VR does really well. Or I don't know. So I'm really hoping Steam Frame doesn't arrive at like $2,000. I've got a budget that I think I can push up to like I'm kind of drawing a line in the sand like 1,500 because I don't want just the base model, but I might have to stick with just the base model. But we'll see. I really want to see what they can do for Android, for Steam Deck, for kind of making gaming. Maybe it's not a VR game. You're just doing a big picture presentation of a game, like stuff like that. I'm really excited, but I'm also really anxious to see. So getting to see the controller tear down was just kind of fun. JGJ is saying a hot swappable battery. So from what I understand, that that the controller itself, and this is probably one of those things that will cost more for variations on Steam Frame. Like I bet you there's going to be a Steam Frame with controllers, a Steam Frame with more storage, and then there are these other things that like they can sell. So they're calling it like the Frame Enthusiast Kit. Includes a hot swappable lithium ion battery pack. So those kinds of things I think are going to be the price differentiators. I think I'll be okay if I don't buy like all of the most expensive, like, oh, with the enthusiast kit and I can hot swap batteries and I can plug this in, I can do that. I think I'll be okay if I just have to keep like a battery brick in my pocket, Apple Vision Pro style, and run a cable up to the headset to charge it if I start to run low on the battery. I don't know. We'll have to see how they sell all this stuff. But man, I'm so nervous. I've wanted this for so long. Project Deckard, and it's so close. Roth Sothi's right there with me. We'll definitely want in on Frame to replay Half-Life Alyx. I want it so bad, guys. Because I don't know who's going to be interested in this, but the price of it at least gives me hope for Steam Frame. And allow me to explain myself. Comparatively, we can look at mini PCs and say, hey, a mini PC with a really powerful AMD chip costs this much money, and now Valve has been able to undercut that mini PC. I brought up similar, 2 terabytes of storage, with all of the crazy sales, a mini PC from Geekom still $100 more expensive than the Steam machine with the same amount of storage. Well, if I don't want to buy a Vision Pro and I don't want to buy an Oculus because an Oculus isn't really the price of the headset. It's subsidized by Facebook so that they can run roughshod over all of your personal information and data. What would be another example of something I can put on my face to generate some kind of virtual augmented reality XR kind of experience? Well, if you're in the UK and it's not too hot in your neck of the woods and you don't mind a sweaty XR mixed reality headset, you can finally get the Samsung Galaxy XR, which was launched last October of 2025, but was only available in, they say here in the article, this was written up by Vlad over at GSM Arena. This is like the whole podcast is just Vlad from GSM Arena. So that was last October. Oh, it was available in Korea and the United States. So now it's finally making its way to the UK for 1,699 British pounds sterling. The XR travel case and XR controllers are each priced at 249 pounds sterling. So all in, I mean, let's say you just wanted the headset and the controllers, the XR controllers, that would be pretty much $2,000. That's a lot of money. I don't know that there's a whole lot you can do with a Galaxy XR headset, but the whole point of it is to be a bit more like Vision Pro. So the expanded technologies on things like video pass-through is when you pin content to the space around you, the video pass-through full color, trying to support that more interactive and immersive real world experience, less the VR immersive experience. Well, let me get a quick drink of water here real fast. So if I take Galaxy XR and how Galaxy XR is trying to emulate more of the Vision Pro augmented reality experience, that is not what I want from Steam Frame. From Steam Frame, I'm looking for a VR headset. It does have some video pass-through, but I think it's going to be monochrome. That's older fashioned tech built in. I believe Steam Frame will probably allow for developers, to make use of cameras and sensors to do some kind of augmented reality hand gestures and stuff. But really, most of the interactions I have, I want to go through controllers. I think they're more precise. I don't like having to like be super specific about hand movements and gestures. I think that's less good. I think that's kind of dumb. Oh, you don't have to hold any bulky controllers. I'm sorry, VR controllers are far from bulky. They're quite elegant, you'll find. And they can be very precise when you need precision. Kind of like, you're just sort of fat finger smushing your laptop screen as opposed to using a mouse or a trackpad for finer point control. I'm hoping that using the older chip, it's using the Steam Frame is using the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, still plenty powerful for what I want to accomplish on it. It's using controllers. It's not trying to impress me with a lot of augmented reality, a lot of AR processing, AR camera tech, that if a Galaxy XR, which can't be subsidized with a lot of game sales, is selling for 1,700 pounds sterling, I'm hoping that means my Steam Frame will be priced under $1,500 US. I hope so bad. I just do not understand the business model or the desire. From the original Apple Vision Pro, which was an abomination of a dev kit. It was not a good consumer product. It was launched like it was ready to go, like it was a consumer-facing business, and I got a lot of people arguing with me and techies who should have known better. And one techie in particular saying I just must not be much of a tech enthusiast, and I couldn't possibly ever call myself a futurist if I'm not supporting Vision Pro as the next paradigm of personal computing. That individual hasn't put on a VR headset to my knowledge since the launch of Vision Pro. I'm really, really trying not to call people out because, like, we're friendly at press events, but I don't know. It is what it is. All of that ire that I fielded, the people who said that the Orion glasses for Meta were definitely real and they were going to come out and they were going to be awesome when their dev kit were like $10,000 glasses that could only last for 2 hours on a charge. Where is Meta with optical AR systems for consumers? Have they materialized? I don't think so. I just don't understand what the draw was here. They're trying so hard, Apple especially, but Samsung copying Apple with another AR headset thing, a mixed reality headset, to do what? To replace a monitor. You have a canvas that pins programs in real space. It's kind of cool. And then you can work with multiple programs in kind of a windowed environment, but the windows float in space around you. But to do that, you have to wear a VR headset, and it's less precise than interacting with actual physical tangible monitors. And it is so much more expensive than putting on like those little XR glasses that are more breathable and help you interact with the real world easier because you can just lift them quickly if you need to see something. And some of them have pass-through capabilities. Even the Rokids, you can kind of like, oh, let me just turn them off. Okay, cool. I can see what's happening right in front of me. Actually, even the Ray Neos do that too now. I've never understood this idea of let me put on this bulky VR headset, which doesn't look like it's going to run for a while on battery. But then what I can do, it's so amazing. Look, Galaxy XR, worlds wide open. And I put this thing on my face. And I love, they always do this like zoom in. So here I'm on the Samsung website and they show you the headset just like Vision Pro. And they turn the headset around and then they tip it up so that you can see the lenses like it's getting put on your face. And that is the exact same frame that we see from Star Wars Episode 3 when Darth Vader's helmet is getting bolted to his skull. And for some reason, tech companies think that's the dystopian future everyone wants to live in. It's surrounded by camera sensors, and you stick this thing on your face, and then what do you do with it? Oh, look, I got a big TV that I can sit really close to. Well, why not just buy a big TV? I understand not everyone can put a big TV in their living room, but for 1,700 pounds, I feel like most people could get a really good TV. He's got this really cute couch, this is nice living room. He could sit next to someone and watch the same show on his big TV, but no, he's got a headset on and he's playing a really rudimentary wireframe tennis game with his controllers because you see Samsung isn't like Apple. We do have XR controllers that you can use. And then we move down and here's a woman who's looking through a photo gallery. And she has to pinch this photo and then slide, and then she can move the photo. And if she has 3D photos, she could see them with a 3D effect because of her headset. But who's going to go through a photo gallery like this? That's like the worst way to scroll through your photos. Again, because she's not using a big TV or her phone, where she probably took the photo from her phone, that isn't a winning argument for putting a VR headset on your face. Look, you can explore with Gemini in your VR headset, y'all. Look, I can float a window out in space in front of me, and then Gemini, can you give me directions to this place? Sure, I will look that up for you on Google Maps. I really want to believe in humanity more than this. Where I personally want to believe that A functional grown-up who can dress themselves in the morning and apply Velcro on their shoes. Not even someone who can tie their own shoes. Is looking at stuff like this and is skeptical of how blitheringly low-level stupid these examples are. At the last Google I/O, one of their examples of optical system AI. We need to have AI, folks. Their example was someone using their phone camera to look at a pair of boots. And then they ask Gemini, hey, Gemini, will that pair of boots sitting right in front of me, a tangible physical object, will that pair of boots fit in my backpack? Another tangible physical object sitting right in front of me. I just need to know who is out there who's looking at a pair of boots. They're going to pack up their backpack and they want, hey, I want to put those boots in that backpack. I wonder if the boots will fit. And their first thought is, let me pick up my phone and ask an AI system, which is going to take minutes, instead of picking up the boots and opening the backpack and trying to put them inside, which will take seconds. And what makes me sad is we keep seeing examples of that level of inactivity, stupidity, ignorance, and laziness. And it seems to be the only thing we can sell AI on is someone who's too stupid and too lazy to pick up a pair of boots and try and put them in a backpack. That person has to be good enough at holding up a phone, going to a Gemini app or visual search system on that phone, navigating an Android UI and pulling up and having the right prompt to engage in this kind of optical object recognition that the AI can even process spatially what they're trying to accomplish to get some kind of meaningful answer. And at some point, that individual holding up the phone and going through this entire AI process, a person is still gonna have to pick up the boots and try and put them in the backpack regardless. So short story, incredibly long, I really want to play VR games in a really good VR headset that can maybe do a few fun other things. Like maybe there's a fun VR piano tutor. I can get a cheap keyboard and it'll just track my fingers. Kind of like I think there's a game for Oculus that does that. It's like Guitar Hero, but you're really playing the piano. I would love that. I don't care that my fingers are in black and white. I just want that kind of gameplay. I want it gamified. I think that'd be really cool. I'm down. Let's do it. But this, let me put on an almost $2,000 headset to slowly look through my photos in an agonizingly stupid way. And then, hey, Gemini, can you tell me how to get to that place that I've already been to? It's in one of my photos. Sure, human. Let me pull that up for you on Google Maps. So, can anyone tell me, am I way off base here? Are the people that are really hot on AI, is this really the interaction that they're looking for? Is this really? Like, am I putting way too much faith in humanity and average consumers? Are non-techie consumers looking at that demonstration of, will these boots fit in a backpack and thinking, that's going to solve my problems? You know, I've always been saying it is so difficult to think about the size of one object and see if that object will fit inside another object. And now I can have my phone do that for me. I'm going to go buy that phone. Do I need to give up on our species? Is that where we're at? I don't get it. I don't understand. Sorry, let me get into some of these comments here and we can start wrapping this up. Mountain Dew Lou, I love my LG C2. It's a 42-inch OLED. Me no want an overpriced VR headset for daily use. I love the solution need of having XR glasses. Like, again, I like to show off. Increasingly, I've kind of started leaning more towards the Ray Neos. They're cheaper. They've improved the brightness, the HDR response. They've got faster frame rates, especially if you're gaming. The bang for buck. I've started leaning more towards Ray Neo than always hyping up the most expensive Rokids and X Reels. It's hard to suggest to someone to buy X Reels now because they are not casually attainably expensive. But if you just want to put some glasses on your face, plug it into another computer, and have a really good image presented out in front of you, I kind of like what Ray Neo's doing right now. I love the solution of plugging it into my phone, watching a movie when I don't have access to a big TV. To me, I'm on an airplane, or maybe I'm on like some kind of road trip and it's not my turn to drive. To me, that is a good $300 solution. It's a portable monitor. Portable monitors can be had for cheaper, but I can't prop up a portable monitor easily in my car or easily on an airplane tray table. That experience is not as nice as putting on $300 to $400 glasses and having a beautiful 1080p projection of a movie or a game or something that I want to experience. So I'm definitely of that mind. But an almost $2,000 mixed reality headset that's not good for playing games and just puts Android apps out in space in front of me, that doesn't sound like it's worth almost $2,000. I don't know who that person is who is really going to get $1,799 worth of enjoyment out of that. I'm sorry, I'm now on the United States site for the Galaxy XR. It's $1,800. It starts at $1,800. So before controllers, and I'd imagine that there's probably another storage level. I don't even know. Oh no, it just comes in 256 gigs of storage. So if you watch movies like me, you can't fit a lot of movies on that and have apps and games and other things to do. Don't do that. $1,800 for 256 gig of storage is not a good buy. Take $400, go get some Ray Neos, kick back, see a beautiful presentation floating out in space in front of you, and it's like 80% of the way to what you will do on a Galaxy XR anyway. So much nicer. Moving on. Duelos the Prophet saying the masses are too easily impressed. But are they? That's what I can't untangle. Are any of the masses actually impressed by what this thing purports to do? I think a lot of people will look at this and like, oh, wow, yeah, that looks like really futuristic technology. But are they impressed by that? Or are they going to look at that price tag and say like, oh, that's too expensive and it's kind of stupid? I genuinely can't tell. From Ishmael, I bought a 70-inch TV with 4 years of insurance protection for $370 this weekend. I'm good. No need to spend $1,000 on this VR tech. So your 70-inch TV is undercutting the price of a nicer XR headset. I reference like Ray Neo in the $300 to $400 price territory, and you just bought a 70-inch TV that beats that. Now, to be fair, you can't fold up your 70-inch TV and put it in a shirt pocket, but still, I think you're doing just fine. That was a good purchase for you. From John Gao, I think that example was about a pair of boots that they have yet to buy, right? Go watch that video again. Someone tell me if I'm wrong. But during that Google I/O example, I believe that person had the boots right in front of them. If I have that wrong, I'll apologize and I'll eat my hat. No, I won't literally eat my hat. This is my TK Bay collectible merch hat. I'm not gonna destroy this hat. I will figuratively eat my hat. I will eat crow. I will, on a future episode of this podcast, I swear that was someone holding up the camera looking at boots that were in physical space in front of them. I might have that wrong. But even then, it's still not that great of an example because that is a search query. But they're trying to make it sound like these are such impressive optical systems that can scan things in your environment and use data from other websites to see if one thing fit in another thing. Is that useful? I don't get it. Or Go V8. Or you could get a toddler to use their new spatial awareness to tell them yes or no. It's like it's a task that I would have given a 3-year-old. Hey, does this fit inside? That's right, it goes in the square hole. From Rasathi, like Miracle Piano on the NES. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's on Oculus, and I hope there's a PC version, PC VR version. But there is a game that maps your fingers, and then you get like lights on it, little colors light up on your keyboard, and the light and the duration is how long you're going to hold and sustain that note, like Rock Band or Guitar Hero, but for a full piano. And I really hope there's a PC VR game that will work with Frame. And even if it's just grayscale pass through, I'll be happy with that. Yeah, from Duelos the Prophet. It's weird that it's being pushed. I can understand if you saw a screenshot or photo of a location that you didn't know and then used that feature, but yeah. Again, in the example on the Samsung website, it's a place in their photo gallery. I want to go to there. Okay, I'll pull up Google Maps. From Future It's Here. The real breakthrough in AI is software development. We can now vibe code a lot of these apps that are for subscriptions. Can we? What's going to happen when you start paying for all your tokens, man? Are you really efficient with your AI credits? Because I think that's coming. That bill is coming. It's going to hit pretty hard. Yeah, from JGJ. Unfortunately, smart TVs are apparently going recall style, taking screenshots of what you're viewing for metadata. We probably will be looking at getting a new TV soon. I still like my TCL 5 series. It's a solid TV, but so much of the experience has started to kind of get bogged down. The software updates, it just does weird things like it can't stay connected to my Plex as consistently. And I think instead, we're really going to look at making sure nothing on the TV is ever connected in any meaningful way to broadband software, anything, and then going through some other kind of interface to really control the experience. And we might just roll with that little mini gaming PC that I built, which is way more power, electricity, but like we would have so much more control over what's going on with that system. I just hate what current smart TVs are becoming. So anymore, like I recommend get some kind of other interface. It's still probably going to be doing data tracking and telemetry if it's a Chromecast, or especially now if it's a Roku. If Roku gets bought out by Foxcore, but do something else if you're anxious or you're curious about how your TV is narking on you. JGJ with another small creator, Das Geek, just revealed this info. Good to know. Das Geek probably deserves some sharing across social media. From Mountain Dew Lou. $300 is a fair price for, I think you mean for XR glasses. I can see that. And I agree. $2,000 is not worth it for a headset. For a really good gaming VR headset, I am willing to go up to like $1,500. I'm not expecting anyone to join me on that. I think I'm I'm stuck because I think a lot of people will say, well, why wouldn't you just buy a Oculus? And like I said, I don't want to give Facebook any money, and I'm willing to pay up to $1,000 more to not give Oculus a dime. Facebook, I need you to hear me. Those headsets are cool. They are consumer accessible at the prices that you've put them out at, even though I viciously disagree with every single business practice you've ever engaged in. I'm willing to spend up to $1,000 more on a very similar level of experience just to never give you a dime. And I'm good with that. I've made my peace with it. Doulos the Prophet, consumption of the TK Bay hat will not be tolerated. I love it. I love it. Okay, folks. My voice is actively failing, and we're 40 minutes past our 2-hour podcast here. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I have to get to work. I have so many videos that are in the pipeline. I'm wrapping up a watch review. I have those gorgeous Odysseys. They're right there. And as much as I love talking to y'all, I really would love to just spend a whole day doing nothing but listening to things on those Odyssey MM520s. You can get my first impressions, literally the notes on my very first listen on patreon.com/somegadgetguy. I'm oddly optimistic and a little hopeful that some of the continued conversation and some of the business impact of AI and data centers, there are things happening. When I see the SpaceX stock price plummet, there are things happening in our society that are giving me these little odd patches of hopefulness that some of these market corrections, some of these course corrections could be happening. And hopefully in ways that are not just outright economic devastating downturns. Obviously, at any time, this whole thing could crater, and that would be one method of course correcting for bad business practices. I think a lot of us would agree we don't want the entire system to just collapse around us again. So it's weird. It's funny. A part of it is getting to chat with you every Monday morning. That there are these little glimmers of potential, and I hope I'm not getting my hopes up too high. But again, I wrap up a show like this, I read through some pretty heavy news articles, and then I think, oh, you know what, though? The fact that we're still talking about some of these really heavy news articles is at least encouraging that some attention is being paid to what the problems might be and how we might be able to fix those problems in the future. I don't know. We'll have to see. But in the meantime, I'm still going to talk about some fun gadgets, and we're still going to have some fun, like digging into camera systems and headphones and DACs. I have 2 DACs on my desk that are delicious. So there's going to be some cool stuff to chat about. And I'm happy to have you all along for the ride. I would be so honored if you would add me to that list of really cool content creators that you feel like from time to time you can share some of our videos or editorials on social media alongside like a Tech Tablets or a TK Bay or an iFixit or a Hugh Jeffries or any of these others. So folks, I hope you have an amazing week. I hope you do awesome with your technology. I hope you are awesome with your technology. And I'll catch you back here next week for another episode of the Monday Morning Tech Chat Show on the SGGQA podcast channel. Be safe. Take care of yourselves. Take care of that mental health so that you can keep being an amazing tech neighbor to your family and friends. Catch you back. I love you.